Van, we understand BNSF has acquired land in TRIC, Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, for a transload operation. Can you explain the rationale for that acquisition, if that is indeed true?
Well, first, I'll just kind of talk about where I spend my time, and then I'll answer that question. I am the Assistant Vice President of Economic Development for BNSF Railway, and my responsibility is two or threefold. Principally, anytime anyone is going to locate in an area that wishes rail service and wishes to have that rail service be provided by the BNSF, and we have access to that area, it's my responsibility to see that the right customer is located at the right location, with the right service, with the right infrastructure, at the right price. That's basically what I do. So I help locate people. So working with you folks, particularly those of you on the supply chain side, as well as those of you that are in industrial real estate, you guys are my customer base. And so I spend a lot of time with you folks. I have about 30 people in the field. Last year, in the worst economy, at least they keep saying this since the Great Depression, we completed 148 new locations and expansions on our railroad. That was the second highest amount that we have ever done in any year. 154 is the most we've ever done. We added over $230 million of incremental revenue. That's brand new revenue, not shifting around revenue on the railroad, to the railroad. In addition to that, I have 405 transload operations on our railroad. Transloaders are essentially the transportation equivalent of a public warehouse. They offer their services to the public. They provide, they transload moving from truck to rail, rail to truck product as a third-party provider. We have 405 of those, and last year, net of fuel, that was about $408 million in revenue. So my little group of about 30 people, when you add fuel into it, the gross is about $750, $800 million a year that we are touching in transportation freight. We are your other railroad. I have a 6-year-old, and when Zachary and I are riding around DFW, of course we have both railroads in the DFW area, both Western railroads, along with other railroads as well. And he always points out the UP's trains and says, there's the other guys. So out here, we're the other guys. But we do, as a result of the merger settlement, when the UP acquired the SP, they were directed wherever there had been 2-for-1 service. In other words, that both railroads had been present and there was competition. They were directed by the STB to provide competition. Well, since the SP was absorbed by the UP, the only way in which they could do that would be to allow us to have access because we're the other Western railroad. So we have the right to serve customers on certain lines, including the Central Corridor, the UP Central Corridor, which goes through here. Now, the STB, to a lesser extent, they have some rights on some lines of ours as well. So this is reciprocal because their system is so much larger, and because of the anti-competitive impact of that merger would have been so great, they're actually affected much more than we are. It's pretty rare that we have to grant them access. But the way that works, in order to protect the railroads and their existing business, is we do not have the right to serve an existing facility that was in existence at the time of the merger. We do not have a right to serve an existing customer of the UP or SP that was in existence at the time of the merger. However, if that facility changes hands, or if it remains in the same ownership but changes use, we do have access to it. It becomes a new facility in the language of the merger and settlement agreement. Unified Merger and Settlement Agreement. That's a really big little, about 1,000, 2,000 pages that are really important. It says how we relate to the two railroads. Over the years, over the last, 14 years, I guess, since the merger, something like that, and during that period of time, we've done very little on the UP track. For one reason, we had plenty of things to do on our own track, and so rather than deal with the competitive issues and some of the other issues, we basically have used UP track for overhead haulage. In other words, just to go from point A to point B, say from Denver to Sacramento or back, and really not stopping too much at points in between. However, in recent years, as there's been a rail renaissance and direct rail has become more important to many companies, in a past life, I did manufacturing facility location consulting. And for many, many years, 5 to 10% rail served access to industry was really rare. That was about the most you ever had. Today, in combined manufacturing, warehouse, and distribution, transportation accounts for about 50% of total cost. And in warehouse and distribution, it's well over 60%, maybe close to 70%. That being the case, it's become much more important, and so many more companies are looking at it. And so we began to see companies locating on rail, and really for the first time since the 50s, building new rail-served industries. Well, it just happens that you guys have one of the largest rail-served industrial parks in the entire country, maybe the largest in the world, Tahoe-Reno Industrial Center. It is ideal for us to provide service to that particular location. And so we established service there, and we serve several customers there today. We basically work when we're on the UP track in two ways. We have the right to provide direct service. When a customer, a new customer, is located on the railroad, we have to make an election. And that election is good for 5 years. And what it says is, okay, yes, we will provide a BNSF, train, equipment, whatever, crew directly to that location, or, Mr. UP, you will do it for us in a reciprocal switch situation. So much of what we do on the UP system, our equipment, their people. Sometimes our equipment and our people, sometimes their equipment, our freight. And so there's sort of the three different ways that this occurs. In order for us to be able to ultimately be competitive, we really need to we need a volume and density of business that allows us to justify locals, and we're beginning to get that in this area. So 5, 6 years ago, when I came to the railroad, I was very familiar with this area before I came here as a site location consultant. Before I came to the railroad, I said one of the things we need to do is we need to be in this area. And so we worked with the folks at the Tahoe-Reno Industrial Center. We've acquired property there for a future transload. We will probably look at expanding that to allow us to have some kind of small service yard there. And we believe that that's a very good place for us to be able to serve the business and industry. We just renewed a contract that we had here where we actually leased a piece of property for a customer, and they operate a combination of a transload and a processing operation here. We just released that. We were been in that for about 7 or 8 years. So we're actually involved in the real estate market where it makes sense, as well as simply providing rail service. And I talked too long, but.
No, it's a wonderful overview. No, thank you. Thank you.